Hi, my name is Robin Engström. I'm also known as Crasher or That Guy Crasher, depending on where you look. And I am the RLCS observer for the EU and NA broadcasts. I am not a broadcast director. That title falls upon one of my colleagues. My job is basically being in charge of everything that you guys see inside the game. So any shots that is taken by a player that is shown from a really cool angle, yeah, that's me. If something's being missed, yeah, no, I'll blame it on the director camera. It's fine. Jokes aside, that's basically me. It's nothing super glamorous. I don't get to walk on the red carpet or anything during fancy during fancy events or anything like that. I stick behind the camera. I am working in the shadows, so to speak. Well, in light like this, but figure of speech. So either way, today or this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about a little bit more detail about what I do, what I think of. I'm also going to talk about the different sort of production roles and some basic production stuff that people have to think about when they are working with broadcasts. Mainly has to do with what I do because that's what I do, for a lack of a better explanation. So, with that said, let's go ahead and start off with the roles. There are a lot of different roles within broadcasting. Like there can be roles, sub roles, and then you have different areas of responsibility. Like you have camera operators. Got camera operators, Steadicam operators, crane operators, drone operators, and then you have executive producers, you have makeup artists, you have light operators. There's so many roles that you can, like, if you can think of something, hey, we need something like this, you can bet that there is a role meant for that sort of responsibility. But we are going to start off with the basics. And this role list is basically what I have worked with during the broadcasts of RLCS. And the first thing that comes to mind when you're talking about these sort of productions is a producer. The producer is the big boss, is responsible for the overall show and makes sure that everything is rolling on schedule, at least for the broadcast that we are doing. If we're doing like special TV broadcasts, there might be a person besides the producer that keeps tabs of time because advertisement slots and whatnot. Thankfully, with esports, we don't really have to think about it that much, but try to keep everything within a certain time schedule. So whatever they say is basically law. So if someone comes in and says, "Hey, we need to do this. We need to have this cut away or whatever," you work around it. And then you have the director. The director is someone who works closely together with the producer and basically chooses everything that is shown on the screen. So you could say the producer has an idea for the show. It's the director's responsibility to make that idea a reality. The director shows and chooses which cameras that people are going to see. So the director chooses, hey, I want to see that camera. I want to see that camera. I want that camera to pan up a little bit. I want that camera to tilt down. I want to go into this, that, and yada, yada, yada. And the producer and director, they work very closely together with each other during these broadcasts. So you also have a couple of other roles. For instance, the graphics operator. Every time you see a name fly by, or whenever you see commentators, players, stats, all that stuff, usually it's the graphics operator that pushes a button, shows the graphic, and they get to edit the information that is on said graphic, make sure that everything is correct, otherwise people will be mad. which is, it's sort of obvious why people would be mad. We need that information to be correct. And speaking about showing stuff, we have the replay operator. So the replay operator, every time you see something cool happening inside the game, usually there is a highlight clip of said thing that you get to see a little bit later, like after the game or in the post-game segment, when the people are sitting on the desk and they're analyzing a certain shot or something, saying like, oh, that shot was great because this, and that. And that's the replay operator's job. Make sure that they record the highlight and then place it out whenever the director or producer wants it to be played out. Speaking about playing, a little bit earlier, you may have heard some music that was being played here, or you hear my voice right now, it's audio. The audio engineer deals with all the audio that is being dealt on the broadcast. It's very straightforward. All the music, all the commentators, in-game sound, all that stuff is the audio engineer's job. And then we come to the technical operations manager, or TOM. So it's a very funny thing. You just scream TOM if you are in need of something. So basically, they deal with everything that has to do with the tech related stuff to the broadcast, like all the broadcast related stuff. So if I can't do my job because of something happening, I just yell at a Tom. Poor guy actually named Tom. Just hearing his name being shouted all over the place. But basically, they are in charge of the overall broadcast equipment. Anything goes wrong, they have to be there and help out fix it. And then lastly, for this sort of particular production, you have little me, the observer, or the in-game director. So it's not a broadcast director per se. It is more a in-game director, or observer is the general term. So the broadcast director, that would be the director, that would be my colleague. But funnily enough, I do sort of the same things as the director. I am choosing which cameras to play out, and I am choosing, what angles to show them from, and I'm making sure that I show what's going on in a very informative way, or I try to to the best of my abilities. As you may have noticed, Rocket League is a very fast-paced game. It is difficult to keep track of what's going on at times, especially if you're someone that's new coming into the scene. They will be like, whoa, okay, balls over there, boom, it just flew across the pitch into the net at 130 kilometers an hour. It is a lot to take in, and that's something that I've been trying to work on during all of this time. I've been working together with this sort of project for 2.5 years now. I started in Spring Series back in 2020, April, I believe it was. And the way that I got it, just quick anecdote. Someone I knew before was searching for someone with observing experience. I was the guy, I was local, and, it was basically a Facebook ad. He was like, hey, we need this. I was like, I can be that. They were like, cool, get over here. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing? I have no clue what I'm doing. Oh no. Thankfully, the people who were working together with me were very understanding that I didn't have that particular game experience when it came to observing. I had observing experience overall, just not for Rocket League. But CJ, one responsible for one of the people responsible for the project, he went through the observing side with me, and it's explained the basics. And then after that, I was just thinking, hey, that's pretty cool. Is there more that we can do? And after that, there was a lot that happened, and here I am today, just kind of yada yadaing it. So just to show an example of things that I have to think of, we're not going to use Rocket League as a reference. We're actually going to use actual hockey, because this is sort of the same thing that, I have to think about. So, just to explain very quickly what's happening here. So we have in this is irrelevant to be honest, but it's Tampa Bay Lightning versus New York Rangers, and it's 0-0. Currently, the camera position that we have is camera one. Is the overview. This person is responsible for making sure that you see everything that is happening inside the match. It's pretty straightforward. And then you have several different camera roles. You have the close up. You have someone that's taking audience shots. You have someone that is close. Let me fast forward a little bit here, and I can actually show you. Uh, right about here. Whoops, not there. I need to make sure somewhere around here is another camera operator, and there's also someone that is down towards the left, somewhere around here in the opposite corner. Those are the close-up, low close-ups. Try to get you grounded and really get a good shot of the action. So the thing that I have to think about here is how do I present what's going on? How do I present this in an informative way? There are several things that I have to think about. First off, where's the play headed? The play currently is headed towards the left, but not really. It's headed down here. The puck is right there. Play is headed over here. So I need to make sure that I am ready with the camera to just swing down if need be. If this person right here decides to go somewhere, I need to be ready. I need to sort of predict what's going on. And that's having an understanding for the game helps out quite a lot. So now I know, okay, so this person, he's receiving a pass. Now what? Of course, he's going to head this way. How is it going to head that way? I mean, there are several ways. He can take the puck and bring it forward himself. He can go for a pass. He can do a lot of stuff. So the camera operator has to be ready for that. So we continue on and we see, oh, it's a pass. And all of a sudden, you see the puck right here. He's trying to keep the puck in the frame at all time, seeing what's going to happen next. We want to see where the play is going. And if you miss this as a camera operator, where the puck is going, and you miss something vital, it's game over, man. Game over. It's harsh. Okay, maybe not game over, depending on what kind of producer you're working with, but it's very much frowned upon. If you miss something like that, it's oof. Trust me, I've had that happen. It's not fun. Especially when you read Reddit comments being like, oh my god, actually, fun story. Just happened recently, last weekend. First weekend of the RLCS. And coming off a 2-month hiatus, a bit of sickness, I miss one POV shot. I think it was Sipical coming in from the roof, shooting, and some of the people went mad at me, and trust me, I am cursing when I was cursing because I missed that. Then again, I had to check off a little bit of rust, but that's also something. It happens. Mistakes happens. We're all humans. That's very important to keep in mind. We're all humans. We make mistakes. If it happens, you forget about it. You move on. Speaking about moving on, let's move on here. So we see all of a sudden place heading here towards the right. Now something is happening. This is a shift is happening in the intensity. So all of a sudden, this entire picture, this frame is starting to zoom in. We can take a look at it again because it's very important. Because all of a sudden we start to cut out information. First, we see these people right here. They're trying to catch up, and we have these people right here that are part of the play. But the thing is that these people up here, they don't have an impact on what's going to happen. We only want to show what's relevant. So the camera pans towards the right and starts zooming in, and all of a sudden, now we see it's this that's important. And that is also something to think about, because you don't want to have what's called dead space. You only want to have what's relevant to the situation, because that creates the best immersion. Like it creates the most intensity for someone. It and if you're able to catch this shot right here with a good framing, it's golden. So let's continue on, because there's something else also happening. It's not so much to do with what I have to do, but it does come in handy in thinking about it in the future. So goes in for the shot, scores. We have seen the entire play happening. Now there's a bunch of things that are going to happen in rapid fire mode. Camera 1 zooms in. Camera 2 has the close up on reactions. There's another camera. Camera 1 zooms in to see the disappointment of the goalie. Camera 2, more reactions. Pandemonium in the audience. Everyone's super happy. And here comes this. Oh, we missed the shot. Oh, it was going so well up until this point. Because here you would have loved to see this dude high five all the way down. That would have been great. But again, it happens. It honestly, at this point, what have we gotten? We have gotten a bunch of reactions. We have gotten audience. We had let's see, we had disappointed goalie. And then, we got to see a little bit of fist bumping whilst running. But here we kind of lose track. We have no clue what's happening. All in all, it's a good sequence of events that's happening. And also, when things are happening in the moment, it's super difficult to keep track of, unless you've rehearsed this like over and over and over again. It is very difficult to actually see what's or to emulate that, to know exactly what sequence. Like sports have that nailed to like across. It's just this, and that. They know exactly what to do. It's always reaction shot on goal scorer, disappointment from the other team, and then you can switch over to audience shots. You can switch over to team being happy. And then somewhere in between there, the replay operator has prepared some highlight clips and, made sure that they have what they need. And it's a lot to think about. It goes quick. And it's one of those things that you have to be wary of, that, you're going to make a mistake somewhere. There's no such thing as a perfect broadcast, but you can definitely polish the roughness of everything. So, excuse me. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and see what it would look like if we were actually doing some proper Rocket League. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you this. Do you guys see what's happening? It's kind of difficult, right? It's sort of difficult. It's look at all of this space right here. Look at all of this space right here. There's nothing happening here. We don't need to see that, So I think we need to zoom in a little bit. So let's go ahead and zoom. Okay, we have the opposite problem now. We're way too zoomed in. Yeah. So yeah. This is two opposite problems. This one, we have way too much space. We can barely see what's happening, and it's distant. It's alien to us. Whilst this, on the other hand, is too close. We don't see what's happening next. All we see is the ball. We see a hint of blue right here, so we know the ball's going towards somewhere. We can see that the goal, the post is here. All right, so does that mean that is the ball heading towards the goal? I don't know. Is there anyone there defending the net or something? We don't know. Let's go ahead and back out a little bit. and all of a sudden the context changed. We have so what can we gain from this sort of perspective? What do we have for information? So we know that with this blue streak here, ball's going in towards the net. Both Chronic and Nolly, they are trying to jump up, trying to get this ball away. Beast Mode, he's trying to make a play of some sort. Maybe he's trying to redirect the ball. Maybe he's trying to cause some sort of interference. We don't know, but we see that he's there. He's trying to affect the play somehow. And here's the thing: you have to choose when you do close-ups like these, because even if close-up like these are exciting, and they bring they bring the viewer in towards the play, there's always a risk that you may lose out on something around it. In this instance, we can actually go back twice and we'll zoom in a little bit. And we can see, you can kind of glean. I don't know how it looks for you guys, but you can kind of glean what's going on. So the most important part is this, of course. You got Beast Mode, Chronic, Nolly, all around the play. What's happening on the other side of things? What's happening over here? Torment, he's heading out. He's not going to be relevant to the play. Calm, he's heading this way. Appjack, well, seems like he's heading around towards the boost somehow. From this perspective, these three players right here aren't going to affect the play in the next 2 seconds. Tops 2 seconds. So that's why in this situation, you can take this angle, because that's what's most important. But then you have to readjust afterwards, because you have to be quick. That's just how it goes. You have to be quick when doing these sort of things. It flies by. This game is so fast that it's almost nigh impossible to get everything perfect. There's so much to think about. Yeah, I know. The one thing is, the more you do it, the better you're gonna become at it, and it's gonna become muscle memory. It's when you want to introduce new stuff that will throw spanner into the work. So, for instance, when I started out, first of all, back in 2020 during the spring series, I introduced something that I thought was so basic to any production that I couldn't believe that for 4 or 5 years the game has been out, like doing broadcasts, it hadn't been utilized. From my knowledge, I will say, I don't actually know if it has been used and if it has been used well, but the zoom, literally the zoom, it was crude, primate, and just all around sort of bad. But used correctly, it could change the dynamic so much. And I think it's one of those things where you have to be prepared to, to screw up a little bit. If you want to try something, communicate it, and have an idea of what you want to do, and then you do it. That don't be afraid to test things. That's how I got here to this, because I dared to try, and honestly, it's just go for it. Now, with that being said, speaking about creativity, there is something else that I want to show, and that is basically one of the clips that got me cemented, quote, so to speak. So we can take a look again here. This is, well, you can see it for yourself right here. RLCS X during the fall split, like the very first RLCS that I ever worked. Before was Spring Series, not the same thing. So, and this was Peeps versus Space Station Gaming. And what happens here is probably one of the funniest moments that I managed to get on camera, because this back in it was such a rarity back in the day. Like people were yelling at me like, "You need to take this! You need to take this!" And I was like, "Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! What was I supposed to take?" Well, let's take a look. Got gyro, rotating around, typical, trying to get a touch, and boom! It's a rule one. Oh my god, it's a rule one in RLCS. During this point, it was just unheard of. 2 years ago, it was unheard of. A rule one in like this sort of, or not unheard of, but rare. And so my priority at this point became, how do I show off that rule one while still keeping an eye on the game? So I had to think of ways to make this work. How do I do this? We can fast forward a bit. Well, this was, the first thing that came to mind. Oh, I can use my overview. So I used the overview, and moment's gone. Well, now what? I don't think that really made it justice. So what do? Well, I keep trying, and I'm waiting for another opportunity to go to my overview, and I go to my overview here, but the play isn't going towards them. They are over here. Please let me get over here with the overview. What am I supposed to do? I was freaking out because they were still going. Look at the timer. Like, it's 2:04. They started like 1.5 minutes ago, and it was still going. And I was shaking because I really wanted to capture this moment. So I had to think outside the box. How do I get this moment to the best of my abilities? So I was thinking and thinking, because this is sort of the thing. When you don't have the experience for it, you kind of flounder and you start to think, well, what do I need to do? And I came to think of something. And this is it. Right there is the cinematic clip of the Rule 1. I basically just took the camera down low, switched over, and zoomed out whilst the play was happening. And this was so scary for me. And then it's back to the play. I got the shot. Now back to the play. I was so lucky that they didn't score during the time I was doing the Rule 1, because that would have ruined the moment. And it's one of those things also, you have to choose when you do your thing. Like, when is a good time to switch? How do I make it look seamless? And these were things that I was still struggling with during this sort of during this time. I'm still struggling with it. Why? Because like Rocket League is such a quick game. You still have to think about it. So when I got the shot, people in the chat were like, "Oh my god, that is amazing! Oh my god, it's so good! Give the cameraman a raise." I was like, "Hey, I would not mind a raise at all. Thank you very much." But in the end, I got the shot. I've shown it, and here is a point where my inexperience shows. I got the shot. It's done and dusted with. This point right here where gyro jumps over, it's out of my control. It's perfect for the broadcast. It's completely out of my control. And then we have right there, you saw, I think, Arsenal zooming by, also avoiding it. It's broadcast gold right there, creating those moments in Rocket League history, because it just doesn't happen. But me being me, I wanted to milk things, and milking things never tends to go very well. And you'll see why in just a moment, because I wanted to try and do something extra. So what do? I drop the ball cam in overview. And here's what happens. all of a sudden, the play starts rocketing towards down towards the blue corner. And I don't have the settings set up for that. I wasn't prepared for that to happen with how I placed my camera. And that is something that you need to be very wary of, like preparation for other things to happen. My focus was right here. That's what I wanted to bring up focus to. That's done. It's done and dusted. It's, you know, we have seen it happening. Now what's important is the play, the game. There's still a game going on, guys. Even if this is super funny, there's still a game going on. People are playing to win. This is where the focus should be. And I need to be prepared for what's happening later. And I'm not. And so Arsenal just busts it out, and I'm starting to flounder with the camera, and this sort of thing is just no bueno. No bueno. Because everything that happens here is a mess. And you see, I give up on it. I switch back to the director camera, and it's like, all right, well, I need to let the director camera do its work thing now. And basically, throughout this entire thing, I kept doing my thing, making sure that my replay operator has some things to look at and take highlights of. But in that moment, I was done. The moment's done with, and I got the shot. Move on. So there's still a few more clips speaking about creativity, and this also goes to show the further I got into observing that, I started to understand how I can prepare. How do I get to be creative? How do I show things that are informative, but yet I show it in a cool manner? So this right here is during Copa de Rocket League. It's the 2021-2022 spring split. I think this is the last EU tournament before the spring major, if I recall correctly. I'm doing so many matches in Rocket League, everything just blends together. So here, what's happening is, I think Seiko and someone else, yeah, it's Seiko and apparently Jack, and they land up here on the wall into our rule one. Holy crap! How is that even possible? And everyone was freaking out about it. The commentators were freaking out about it. And I wish I did have sound for you guys here, but there's a moment, it's Stax and Tasserin commentating. And at this point, again, my focus is, trying to, how do I show off the rule one? And this is where the experience comes in. Because at this point, I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. Muscle memory kicks in. So the way that I get to it is much quicker. Because I still want to show off the play, but then I want to show off what's happening on the wall as well. And Stax coincidentally goes with the line, I have never seen a rule one up there, together with a zoom in. And the timing is just, mwah. It's those moments that you live for as someone who works within broadcasting, because those things are memory creating. I love creating memories for other people, and stuff like that is just pure gold for me. It's gold for the broadcast, it's gold for me, it's gold for everyone that is watching. And how's this even possible? My friend, I am about to show you the most insane clip of them all, because this takes the cake. This takes the absolute cake. Here's what happened. It's CRL World Championship. This was before the spring major. I unfortunately didn't do the spring major. I got sick after this event. That was meh. But what happens here is is the following. Garen goes in for the ball touch and goes into a roll one with adverse, just above the blue goal. And again, we need to show this off. And again, this is experience. How do I show this off in a good fashion? Now, here I have to make a decision, however, and I'll show you what kind of decision that I have to make right here. So, we have the rule one, but we also have the ball. The ball's heading this way. These two people right here are about to fall down and breaking up the rule one, because it's, you know, it's just it's funny. It's rule one, but you know, probably have to continue on with the play. Gut instinct tells me something else. My producer and me had the same instinct, the same feeling about what was gonna happen next. And I make the call to stay on the rule one. You can see in that split moment right there, I stop following the play. There and boom. They continue the rule one after falling off the wall. Like, what? And the scary thing here, the play is still continuing on. This play right here going towards the left. There is a very real possibility. Like this guy, let me remove the webcam so you can see. There's a guy right here. What? It's going to be 2-on-1. There's a very real chance that Utah may score a goal here. So I have a choice to make. Do I think that they will score a goal during the few seconds that I'm on this rule one? I made a call and I was correct. It has happened before that I have been incorrect. And those moments are the worst because you miss what's happening in the game. I'm sure that you've watched something every now and then and it's been like, wait, what just happened? A frag on the other side of the map, or like someone is doing a jungle monster in League of Legends and they get Baron buff or something like that, and observers have missed it. Just like, wait, what just happened? How was that even possible? So in this moment, play is right here. That's where the focus should be, because it could be a goal. And it's a very important goal. It's the first goal of the match or of this game too. But I make the judgment call that I think there's not going to be a goal. I don't think they are in position to make the goal, even though they have a very good chance of it. And so I stay on this and I get the shot, and they haven't scored. It's saved. It's clutch. So, but all in all, it takes quite a bit to just go through the ropes of all of this. You know, it's reading up about what's good framing per se, like what's important to show, and how do you make it interesting? How do you make it dynamic so that the viewer gets engrossed and immersed into the thing, you know? And it takes a bit. It does take a bit to really get into into the mind of things, but it's not as difficult as it may seem. I would say what you need is a little bit of willpower, a little bit of inspiration, and just a heck of a lot of going for it energy. You know, it's the only way really that you are going to be able to make strides when it comes to everything. You know, it takes a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of discipline, a hell of a lot of just effort, power. You know, so and honestly, I think that I hope that people open up their eyes for it, because getting moments like this is working with this is fun for me. So I'm hoping that in the future, I want more responsibility for stuff that's happening in the broadcast. I have grand ideas for what's happening, but it is what it is, and hopefully you guys have at least gotten some interest peaked after this. With that said, I have pretty much gone through everything that I want to talk about. It's been about 40 minutes right now, so we have a little bit of. I actually have plenty of time for any questions that you guys might have. Um, Drop by, but yeah, if anyone has any questions or anything of the sort, now's your time. So, but yeah, I saw. I think Sky was asking about this typical. Yeah, but that was at the beginning of the thing, and honestly, again, just reiterating the point that it's not impossible to make a perfect broadcast. It's mistakes are going to happen, and it's very important to understand that we're all human. Like, everyone's going to make a mistake somewhere. Players are humans, broadcast people are humans. It's just that the biggest compliment that us broadcast people can get is when people are being quiet. When people are quiet, it's good. People are enjoying what they're watching. If people are loud and screaming at us, oh, we've screwed up. So, yeah.
Yeah, and so for everyone who wants to ask a question, I think this is set up so everyone's muted. So if you want to ask a question, you can either put it in the chat or I can unmute you. Because we do have a workshop chat. But yeah, the whole Civical thing was really funny because that was the first thing that I thought of when you were talking about what you do, and I'm glad you brought that up because I think the day after that, someone on Twitter farmed the views. They said, "Here's a POV shot of Civical shot," and they got tons of views, and it was a funny thing. I thought it was very interesting that you talked about that. But also, I know sometimes in the kickoffs you do like a zoom in kind of thing for the ball. I used to think that it was like a dolly cam thing because I do like some Rocket League editing videos, So I think I always thought, wow, this looks so good. Is it dolly cam? Somehow do they have a plug-in? But no, it's just you freehand these shots,
Yeah, pretty much.
and that's impressive
So
because I know
it's
wow, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate. So funny thing, we tried implementing dolly cam into it because it would make for so much cooler shots. Not going into much details. The plugin itself is spaghetti code. People do not want to touch it with a like 10 feet prong. It's that much of a nuisance to deal with. I know this because I pushed one of the people that helped me develop the tools for Rocket League Observing with. I basically told him, hey, can you take a look at this? Is this possible? Can you please look at it? Pretty, please. And he was very reluctant to do it. It was like, oh, mate. it's so bad. But the dollar cam does its work, and I've helped out with like all the intro sequences that you see in during like top threes, for instance. That's very much a thing. I help out picking out those moments, and the dollar cam is super powerful. I sincerely wish that we get a point in time where we can use that in our broadcasts, because having those kickoffs be crazy, for lack of better words, it would be so nice. Croctopus is dry. Oh my. You are unmuted, Senor Croctopus. Senor, senorita, monsieur, person, it, everything in between. I don't know.
He may have to
Oh,
fix his mic settings. I'm not sure. I just wanted to pop in here and I wanted to say thank you very much for everything. And thank you for showing us the breakdown between when there's a very good moment captured and then a moment when it's not so well executed, and kind of showing the difference and acknowledging, no one's perfect here, but we're always striving. And I did have a question. My question was more, are you freehanding it? But you kind of answered that. And when you're freehanding it, how are you using some type of controller, or what are you
yeah.
implementing in order to do that?
It's a combination of a plugin that I'm using in Bacchus mod and just a regular controller. So I'm picking out a position. This is where I want to start from, and then I have basically, you know, I do a combination of things. I move in slowly, I zoom in, and from any sort of starting point that I want to show off from. And I try to switch it up between kickoffs, so it's not, I don't use the same kickoff angle twice. I try to keep a mind of a list of, oh, I've used this shot, I've used this shot. And when there's a lot of goals, oh, those kickoffs run out fast. It's just, wait, I've used this kickoff, I've used this kickoff. Wait, if this team scores a goal, I can use that camera, but from this side instead. It's like, ugh. um, it depends, Michael. I would say, it depends, because what you can do is you can make it as simple as you want to, or you can make it as difficult as you want to. It all depends on how creative you want to be, how crazy do you want to go when you go into these sort of situations. I remember again, drawing back to spring series. I remember there was one, going back to, when I introduced the zoom to people. I was, zooming in one time, one clip. I just had one big zoom, and it scored a goal on it, and it was like, oh my god, it's amazing. And then I have another clip somewhere where I'm just going absolutely crazy with the zoom. And the zoom back in the day, like I said, it was not as uh, creative. Um, it was just, as soon as you click the button, it went, and as soon as you stop, it's like, it's all right, start, stop, it drops dead. So it's quite a lot of this happening. Croctopus, what is the best way to get into observer work for RL? Much easier for casters as a single PoE producer, in my opinion. So how does one get started for observing? For Rocket League, I'll be honest, I lucked out on Rocket League when it came to observing. But I would argue that if you want to get into observing overall, first things first, um, do some research on like what you need for observing. Second of all, practice. That's number two. Uh, take some games, record them, and then you don't cheat your recordings. By the way, people will notice. Just take brand spanking new replays and practice on them, because you need to be able to react on what's happening, preferably games that you haven't seen yet. Because otherwise, if you go into a replay like, oh, I've seen this match, I know exactly what's going to happen, it defeats the purpose. You have to have that sort of understanding already from the get-go, of what could happen. So get some replays that you haven't seen, and record it when you are, doing these sort of things. I can do a quick summary. Uh, Take new replays you haven't seen yet. Record when you are observing. And then basically if do honestly, I would say probably do whatever events that you can do. Like if you have to do something small for free, then maybe you have to do something small for free. Just make sure that you don't go out of your way to do it. You know, if it's gonna tank on your personal time, in the sense of, you know, oh, I could do this, like I really need to do that, but I also need to do that. You know, it's prioritize yourself first. Um, mm,
Yeah, and if he can't join back in, whatever you post in here, we'll make sure that it gets to
yeah,
him.
yeah. Take, um, mm, and then there we go. And that's that. The last point I really need want to drive home as well, because it's it's how I got my work for Rocket League. I the person that hired me, I had worked with him before. I was working with commentating before I did observing, and I was commentating it was a Counter-Strike gig. So, you know, it was the thing that I had to do was well, I'll message him. He knew who I was, so I already had a foot in, so to speak, and that's probably the most difficult part of when it comes to esports, or when it comes to these kinds of jobs overall. It's freelancing very much still. It's not easy. It's not let's say economically viable unless you get a lot of it. Um, and there are moments when people will try to use you, like try to exploit you, and you have to value yourself. So it's it's a fine balance. But most importantly is, you know, you if you are willing to put yourself in that situation, you know, because you like it, then, you know, you'll find ways. Just make sure that people know you exist. That's the number one thing.
Awesome. Thank you so, so much, Crasher. Everything you have shared today has been beyond informative and very entertaining and enjoyable to listen to. Thank you very much. And also for writing all that out. We'll make sure that that gets on over, and we'll relay that. But thank you very, very much for all of that. We very much appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to get that Bake's mod plugin, and I'm going to have to start playing around with it. So you'll have to get me that, or let me know what that is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I am going to say thank you very much for taking your time and listening, and make sure that you continue to have a great evening. Thank you all very much, and I'll see you somewhere else. If not, there's RLCS tomorrow, so make sure that you tune in for that. I'll see you around.